Winter greens have such a quiet beauty, soft, cool, and subtle. Today we're going to explore how to mix those tones with intention so you can feel confident creating your own winter palette. Welcome to Sunlit Brushstrokes. My name is Jessica, and I'm excited to be sharing with you how easy it is to mix winter greens. And once you've done this exercise, you'll be ready to paint the winter botanicals I have coming for you this weekend. This is a perfect chance to slow down, experiment, and really get to know your colors. Let's go ahead and get started. Here's our swatch card that we're going to be creating together today, and I just wanted to show you some examples of how I'm using those greens in my winter botanicals. So you can see these more vibrant greens, or even these ones that are just slightly dulled down, are very similar to the greens that I used in my holly and in this particular pine branch. And then over here, we're going to be also doing this swatch card, and these are similar to the ones I ended up using in my mistletoe. And that's just to kind of give you an idea of what colors you might want to have pre-mixed when we go to do our botanicals in a couple of days. So you can see in my wells here, I have a variety of colors mixed up, but what we're going to do is make greens using just the primaries. So I have my Hansa Yellow Deep, my Quinacridone Rose, and my Phthalo Blue. We're just going to use these three colors and make a variety of greens. And I'll just show you the potential these have. And we're going to really aim towards colors that are a little more Christmassy. I'll show you some bright ones too, just as we mix, but we're going to try and get colors that are going to work well for Christmas. So I have a clean palette here. This is just a cheap plastic palette. And I'm going to go ahead and take my brush and some water, and we are going to mix some colors up, and then we'll do some swatches as well. So I've got my water here, and I'm going to start by taking a generous amount of yellow, and this is fresh out of the tube. As you can see, I'm going to put it into this first well, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take a generous amount of blue, and we're going to get a nice green. So let's go ahead and just see what we get. So I've taken a really generous scoop of that phthalo blue. We're going to see what we mix up here. So I'll just mix with this brush, and I'll probably have to add more water too. You can see we're getting a really nice medium green, and sometimes you have to play with it to get that, but I'm going to just add a little more water into this mixture. I'm just going to use this little pipette and drop a little bit extra water in here to speed that process up. You can drop water in with your brush, but this will work. And we just have a very nice bright green, which I don't really care for that green for Christmas, but this is going to show us what a medium green could look like. So then I'm going to go over here and take a little of this paint and put it in each of the wells beside me here. And with this green here, I'm going to add a little bit more yellow. So we're going to get even more limey, and this is like a color you would never think to use for Christmas, but we're going to get a little bit more on the lime green side. I'll take a little more yellow. I know, messy. Let's just go like that. It's not making too much of a difference because I have so much of the blue in there. But on this in this other well, I'm going to add more blue. So in the medium one, I might as well go ahead right now and get some more blue in there. And then this one, I'm going to add even more. So we're going to have a few different greens, and we'll lay them out on our swatch card and see how this is looking. So this is not a bad green for Christmas. You could say this is a nice medium green. I could see using that if you like bright Christmas colors. Personally, I like the muted, but there is a bright green. And then here's one with even more blue. And you know what? I'm going to push it even further. So let's take more blue. So sorry, you can barely see my little palette there. Just scrape the blue off into here and give it another stir. And then finally, I think I'm going to take some and go even darker. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to take more of this, put it over here, and then I'm just going to put quite a lot of the phthalo blue. So back to the phthalo blue, and I'm going to just go ahead with this brush that I used for picking the phthalo blue up, because it's loaded with blue, and this is going to give me a nice rich green. And I'm going to go ahead and do a little sample of each of these on a piece of paper so you can see our brightest greens, and then we're going to talk about muting them. So I went ahead and did a quick swatch of those four colors, but I'm going to say I'm not even going to bother playing with this one anymore for now, because I would call that a spring green, right? We're going to just play with the Christmas greens for today, but you have an idea of what direction you need to go for spring greens, and you can also neutralize them. But for today, we're going to play with these three, and I will show you some ways that we can neutralize these colors. So what I'll do is start by just putting a little bit of each of them on our little swatch card here. So I'm going to go with the brightest one first, and then I'm going to add a little water so that you can kind of see how it behaves once you've added some water to it. So you can see what it looks like when it's a little more translucent. Then this is our medium green. I think that's actually a really nice Christmassy green. Vibrant, but it works for Christmas if you like a vibrant Christmassy green. It almost looks traditional, doesn't it? And then we've got this one that's a little more on the teal side, which isn't very nice in my opinion by itself for Christmas, but I'm going to show you how we can get some gorgeous colors going when we start to neutralize it. So I'll move this thing out of the way and we're going to go ahead and start neutralizing these colors and we'll see what we get. So what I'm going to do is pick up a brush. My water is getting green, my mixing water is. I'm going to get this and take a little bit of red, and I'm going to put a little bit of red. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and take some red just the side here and add some water to it. I do use M-Gram paint. It's very concentrated and also semi-moist, but it is fresh paint as well. So I just decided to add a little water to it so it's easier for mixing. So I've just got some of that, and it's, as you could tell, I dirtied it a little bit with my dirty water, but I'm going to take a little bit of this and mix it into this green now. And then I'm going to paint with it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm not even going to bother washing my brush. I'm just going to go with what's on here, add a little more of this, and keep adding this reddish color to each of these, and then we'll swatch them. So just add a little more red and a little bit more to this one, or some to this one. We haven't added any red to this one. And we're going to see what colors we get. Just put a little bit more. You're going to see they're a little more neutral now. So let's go ahead with this first one and do a little swatch. And then once again, use some water so we can see the variety we have in that green. And you can see that's getting to be a little bit more of an olive neutral green, isn't it? It's very pretty. So then I'm going to come into here with this brush and put a little bit of this one here. And it will be a kind of another neutral color, but it will be a little bit more Christmassy like that. And then finally, I'm going to come into here and use a little bit of this. And you can see we have a green that's going to be starting to get a little bit more like a nice cool color that you might use for pine. This is actually pretty teal still. We have to neutralize that one further. So let's repeat the steps and see what other neutral greens we can get. This one is not there yet. So I'm going to take a little more red and put it in this well. And let's just go ahead and just swatch right away. You can see this is turning into a more of an olive green. A deep olive. Almost looks black until I add my water. And sometimes you're going to like that green at Christmas, and sometimes you're not. Let's take a little bit more of the red, put it over here. And now this isn't a science. It's kind of just playing and exploring. I don't have like certain perfect ratios here. And that's what I would encourage you to do. Just play, see what you get. Okay, let's see what this one looks like now that we've added a little more red. See, it's gone a little bit more neutral. I actually didn't add as much red. There's not as much of a difference between those two. Then I'm going to go ahead and add more red to this one because clearly it needs more red. To me, it just looks quite teal. So let's see what this one's looking like. It might, let's go with a little bit more. Get a quicker change between these teal colors. Got a really nice, beautiful dark color. And we're getting closer to what we might want for a nice wintry, cool toned green. So let's repeat these steps. And this one is almost going to turn brown now, and you're not going to want this anymore. If you want a green that's a little bit more of a like a yellowy olive, you would need to add more yellow. So I'm going to tell you this is already going to be brown. And sometimes this is a nice color for your pine branches, or if you want to go with a really dull color in some of your paintings, but you can see we've pulled this green into the browns by adding red. So let's do the same thing to this one. And we're going to be getting a little more brown. I don't think we'll be as brown yet. Let's see what kind of olive greens we get. I didn't even jump it as far. Maybe we should take a little more green so we get a little bit more of a transition happening. I'm just going to mix a little more green in there, or sorry, not green, red. So we neutralize it a little more, and then I'll add a little more water. You can see I'm using multiple brushes to hopefully avoid having to keep cleaning the same brush. But that's kind of a change from where we were, but not as significant as what we have going on up here. So now, finally, I'm going to take this one, so taking some of our red and adding it to this, and see what kind of change we get. I'm going to take a little bit more. This looks super dark in the palette. It's almost looking a little bit on the blue side now. And we're going to add a little bit of water. And there you can see that's a really nice, kind of a nice cool blue that might work nice for blue spruce. And you could imagine you could get some other varieties in between. But let's just go ahead and put a line here so we can kind of see the dividing line, because these are all just using this green, and this green, and adding a little bit more red to each. Now I want to take this color and see what else I can get with it by adding a little bit more yellow to each of them. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to start by adding the yellow, and then I'm going to do one with even more blue. So with this one, I added yellow. So we're going to get an olive green that's a little bit more of a yellowy olive. Then I'm dipping into my yellow a couple times for this one, and I'm going to see if I can get a more yellow version of this green. And then finally, I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And that's a beautiful color. I really like that. So you can see, we can start with these greens here, add a little red, neutralize them, and then we can always pull them back into the yellows and get some more greens. And why don't we just take each of these mixtures again and put a little bit of blue into them, just so that we can see what it looks like when we pull it back, and we might have just slightly different proportions. And so we're going to see a slight change in what's happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of blue here, because I don't want to take this whole green and change it, but I'm going to take some of it with the phthalo blue, and I'll put some of it here. And we're probably going to get something similar to one of these other mixtures, but you don't know for sure. It might be just a little different. There you can see more blue, brought it back to that color, which is really pretty. Take this one and add some blue. And then some water. And you can see it's changed ever so slightly because the proportions of the primaries are just that slight bit different. And then finally, I'm going to take some of this one. Sorry, my phthalo blue, you can't see it. It's just kind of gone out of the screen here, but I'm going to add a little bit of phthalo blue to this mixture. I'll just bring it in, messing it up a little bit. But let's just put this in here and see what color we've got. In this case, it's actually kind of similar to the one we have here, isn't it? But you can see the variety of greens that we're able to achieve just by playing with our primaries. And you could even push this further if you were to add more yellow or more red. But this is just an idea of some nice greens that work beautiful in the winter. If you're enjoying today's video, I'd love to invite you to join my free newsletter, where you could be the first to know about more videos like this, along with new classes and tutorials. I share helpful art tips to inspire you on your creative journey. I'll include a link for that in the description below. Now let's get back to painting. Now I'm going to take a minute and just mention, as far as taking shortcuts, there's no reason you couldn't use a green like a sap green or a viridian green, something like that would be in the range here. Then you can just play by adding different amounts of red, and then again, play with what happens if you add some yellow or some blue to those greens. So you can take shortcuts, you can use pre-mixed greens and just tweak them. But this will give you an idea of how to create a wide range of greens using just your primaries. I'm also going to show you a shortcut here using a different yellow and a different blue so you can see the effects, and I'll explain to you why this yellow and this blue, or just even different yellow and blue than what we've used today, can have an impact on your color mixing. So I have some colors in my palette. This is Gamboge Yellow, which I don't use often, but it is a beautiful color, and some artists do use this quite a lot. And so that's what the yellow looks like. And then I have some Indanthrene Blue, which is kind of a slightly dull blue. It's almost a little bit on the, I don't want to say purple side, but it's definitely more purple than the phthalo blue is. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, this is pretty watery. Just add a little, scrape a little bit more off of here. This paint is dried in the palette. This one is actually by Rembrandt. They sent me some samples, and so that's what the Indanthrene blue is. Okay, you can see that is kind of like already kind of a little bit of a bluey gray, slightly, right? It's mainly blue, but it's definitely different. I don't know, maybe you could say denim blue. Well, let's go ahead, and I have a swatch here, and I'm going to show you as I mix these colors together what kinds of greens I get. I might even just throw a little more of this blue right into my palette because I feel like I'm a little bit watery, partly just because I need to reconstitute it a little better, but this will be the fastest way to go about that. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start out mostly with this yellow, and then I'm going to dip into this blue and take a little bit of it, and we're going to see what we get. We got a very olivey color right now, or I could say almost like an ugly green. Do we even want to sample that, or do we want to just move on? Let's move on. I think you can tell from my palette what that looks like without even swatching it. It could be a nice color for certain things, but let's take some more of our indanthrene blue. Take too much to start with. Let's see how this turns out. Okay, yes, we've got a more olivey green. We'll swatch this one, and then we'll move on down to some deeper blues here, or sorry, deeper greens. So I'm going to put a little bit of this along here, and then I'll add a little water, just so that you can see, oops, that's a little dry, that brush, just so you can see the gradation we have here. And yes, I'm sorry, I'm using some cheaper paper because this is just what I'm going to be using for my botanicals as well. So I'm going to come in here with my dirty brush, take a little bit more of this and add that to our swatch card. You can see we're getting more olive. Again, add some water. Let's go with some more blue. And a little bit more. Is this going to be enough? I don't know. I'm not sure if I made enough of a difference in this green yet, but we'll swatch it and see. Probably need more blue to start seeing the difference. You can see a bit of a difference though. It is getting a little bit more like a winter green. Okay, we'll take a generous amount this time. See what we get. More. I want to have a bigger jump. I want you to see more changes in these greens. Okay, you're going to see a bigger jump this time. And you can see that makes a very pretty winter green. A neutral winter green, but it's a pretty winter green. And I'll take more of the blue. And you can see we're almost kind of in the blue range now, aren't we? Let's see if we push it one step further. We'll see if this made enough of a difference with this little space left on our little swatch card. It might be even bluer. Didn't make too much of a difference. I would have needed more blue. Now, the reason that we're not getting any bright greens like these ones here is because both this yellow and this blue kind of lean a little bit more towards the red already. You could say the indanthrene blue, it sits a little bit, maybe a little bit closer to the purple, not a lot. I almost think of it as a little bit of a neutralized blue, so it's not as vibrant to start with. You could almost place it in a color wheel, something like this. It leans a bit towards the black. But the gamboge yellow does lean towards a yellow-orange. It's more that color, isn't it? Which means it has a tendency to being red already, and so does our blue. When you mix those together, it's almost like you've added the red into your mixtures. So you're not clean mixtures. You would need a clean yellow and a clean blue to get bright green mixtures. But I just wanted to show you that's another way to take shortcuts. Try different yellows, try different blues. Some of your mixtures will be more intense, and some of them will be more dull. You can see how these were automatically dull because these both lean towards red. Now that you know how to mix these winter greens, you'll be ready for my next video where we paint these beautiful winter botanicals. I'll show you step by step how to paint them, and you can choose if you'd like to use my easy outlines or sketch along with me. In the meantime, I hope this tutorial has brought a little taste of God's beauty and peace into your everyday life, and that it's inspired you to continue enjoying your own creative journey. See you again soon. Bye.